Hi, and welcome to my second video on my YouTube channel. I'm going to deviate from what I promised because I promised to do another video, but I'll do that one next. The reason why I changed my mind is after work today, I was reading an article and Jimmy Carter's name was mentioned. And it struck a nerve and something that's always bothered me. And in my opinion, Jimmy Carter is the finest president in U.S. history, and perhaps one of the finest leaders in the history of the world. Yet when you look at a ranking of U.S. presidents, he's not even mentioned, not even close. And it's something that's always bothered me. And it goes back to what I discovered when I entered high school. And when I entered high school, I was fascinated and revolted at the same time by the insanity of high school culture. And high school culture is where the party boy, the bully, the sexual aggressive guy, the alcoholic guy, the out of control guy is the superstar in high school. And the nerds who are intelligent, caring, and honest are the outsiders. They're ridiculed, they're bullied. Now, I was in a unique position in high school because I was a straight A honor student, but at the same time I was very athletic. So I could move from group to group. I wasn't pegged in a single group. So I had sort of a unique viewpoint to analyze it. And I mean, it fascinated me, human nature in high school. And after I left high school, I could see that culture continued on into government and corporations. And I actually make the argument that most people, their peak maturity is in high school, 17 or 18, and they don't evolve beyond that. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, they talk better, they have beautiful offices, they dress better, but deep down inside, they're still as immature as they were when they were 17 or 18. And, you know, the Carter legacy is influenced by that high school culture because Jimmy Carter was an intelligent, honest, caring man who was soft-spoken, he wasn't a bully, he wasn't aggressive, and he didn't have a massive ego on him. So he is like the nerds in high school. He is an outsider, you know, he's yesterday's news, let's bully him, get him out of here. Yet you have, when people talk, let's talk about the, you know, relatively current presidents and what people consider the best presidents. Well, you get JFK, Reagan is mentioned, Clinton is mentioned as well. Now, let's look at them compared to Carter. Start with Reagan. Under Reagan, he was directly involved, and you'd be a fool to think he wasn't. You know, he was protected by fault people for the Iran-Contra scandal. Now, you know, people that were too young to know about it, and even people my age that didn't educate themselves and didn't read. I mean, under Reagan, the government was basically the largest cocaine importer, directly and indirectly, because if they didn't import it directly, they were helping the cartels to bring in cocaine. And the profits were then used to fund illegal weapons because Congress wouldn't authorize the funds for what Reagan wanted the money for, and which was weapons. And so he was the architect of that, or involved in it in a deep way. You know, secondly, Reagan brought in Alan Greenspan, who is an economic and financial idiot. And, you know, under Alan Greenspan's advice, they started Reaganomics, where, you know, they started to run massive deficits and, you know, trickle down economics, which I won't get into, but I mean, it was just a joke. And, you know, then the other thing too, you know, people give Reagan credit for ending the Cold War when actually it was the exact opposite, people. I mean, he famously gave that speech where he called Russia the evil empire. And under Reagan, they started massive weapon, you know, production. And he was escalating the Cold War and the tensions between Russia and the U.S. And the real person who should get credit, and shouldn't get credit, he did it all, was Gorbachev. Gorbachev I think, is the Russian equivalent of Carter. He was the best leader they ever had. And, the Cold War was bankrupting Russia. And he basically said, enough is enough. And he was the one who stopped the Cold War out of the blue. He was the one who took down the Berlin Wall, not Reagan. And yet somehow things get twisted because people only look at the end result and they go, oh, well, I guess Reagan was the guy who did it. No, Gorbachev was. But even in Russia, Gorbachev has the same sort of legacy as Carter. He is, blamed for taking away the glory of Russia and for, breaking it apart. And you have Putin now, who has a massive ego on him, and he's trying to build it up again and trying to get global power. But Gorbachev, like Carter, was not in it for ego, was not in it for power, like Reagan, Clinton, or Kennedy. They're humble men. Now, if you take a look at Carter, what did he do after he ended his presidency? He went back to his humble house in Plains, Georgia, a house that, I don't know how many decades he's lived in it, 50, 60 years. I think he's about 100 years old now. And it has an assessed value of $167,000. It's a very humble house. Probably not even an average American house. And you know what? He doesn't define himself by money. He doesn't define himself by his ego. He could be like the Clintons, jetting around North America, getting millions of dollars for doing speeches for corporations. Instead, what does Carter do? And he was even doing this in his 90s. He would strap on a tool belt and he would go and help build houses for humanity, houses for disadvantaged people. Clinton, on the other hand, and Hillary, they are making tens of millions of dollars a year. They have a luxury lifestyle. They try and control the Democratic Party because of their fragile egos and their need for power. Are these people that should be celebrated? Carter also was the first president that went, we better do something about the environment. And not only for the environment, eliminate fossil fuels, but also, fossil fuels are a finite energy source. So he actually had solar panels installed on the roof of the White House. Here's a man who was doing the right things. And then when Ronald Reagan took over, he immediately ripped those solar panels off the roof of the White House. During Carter's time, there was no scandals, zero. Kennedy had scandals, Clinton had scandals, Reagan had scandals. And then you look at Clinton, where he famously had that affair with Monica Lewinsky. But not only did he have that affair, but he had the audacity to lie to the American people when he was pressed by the press. And he said, I have not had sexual relations with that woman. And not only, was it exposed that he had the affair with Monica Lewinsky, but then several mistresses came forward that were involved with him while he was the governor of Arkansas. And then there's also the scandal with the property development that him and Hillary were involved in Arkansas when he was the governor. So, scandal after scandal after scandal. And then you even have Trump, where, Trump, had an affair with a porn star and then paid her off so she wouldn't speak. He's accused of raping a woman in a New York department store. There's endless scandals, sexual scandals, yet nobody talks about that. Yet when Carter was interviewed by Playboy magazine, now I don't know if it was before he was elected president or during his presidency, but there was this massive scandal, front page news, because during the interview with Playboy, he said basically that when he looks at another beautiful woman, he has lust in his heart. Well, he was slaughtered for that. He didn't have an affair. And, as a man, let's be honest. Every man, I don't care how happy you are with your girlfriend or your wife, I don't care how beautiful they are, when you see another beautiful woman, you go, zing, something happens to you. He was just being honest, okay? And it's funny how a man like Carter, because he's not the bully, he's not the bad boy, he's honest, and he's slaughtered. Clinton tells a lie, a bald-faced lie to the public, and they accept it because he's the bad boy. So you got to be on the bad boy's side. And it's fascinating to me because, like I say, this culture continues on in society at large. And even women. Women will throw themselves at the bad boy. The bad boy gets all the women. And I mean, it makes no sense, right? And it's the honest, caring guy, the good guy, the guy that's going to be the good boyfriend, the perfect husband. You know, he's just no interest in him. But that's a whole new topic. I mean, I'm fascinated by human psychology, and that all has to do with human psychology and our primitive instincts. But anyways, I think I'll end it at that, and I'll just say, you know, I wish the world would celebrate Jimmy Carter, a humble man, a man who's been married to the same woman and is giving back to humanity. He doesn't care about making millions. He doesn't care about power. He's a man who does the right thing, and for that he gets slaughtered. You know, wake up, people. Thank you.